What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Brothers Geek Out channel. It's G-Man out here, and I'm joined by Elia, who's also known as my wife. And today we've got a new segment, and it's called Life Lessons, right? And it's life lessons that we're going to take away from certain movies and stuff like that we watch. Obviously, you know the channel. We geek out about all the comic book movies. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of the Madness has come out. Us comic book geeks, we look at it from a geek out perspective, you know, what the reality is going to look like, what this is going to look like, what characters they're going to add, all that sort of stuff. But the missus here, she is a counselor and coaching expert. Well, that's her field and whatnot. And she looks at it from a different perspective. So while I'm trying to geek out with Kibbs about the possible realities of what they can bring in an MCU, she's thinking of it from a perspective of a deeper meaning of life lessons. So we're going to call this Life Lessons with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Cool, well let's get into this, right? So we've got a couple of points here that you took away from the movie that was more than just geeking out. But let's start with the first one, right? So first point was, when you don't learn to accept reality for what it is, you create suffering and chaos for yourself and most often for others, like Wanda did. So what does that mean? Elaborate on this, please.
Oh, I think that one's pretty obvious. Like, you know, when Wanda couldn't accept the reality that her children were not with her, that they were not real in her universe, she just had to find a way to reach them in the other universes, right? And that's how she ended up using the black, what's that?
The dark hole magic, yeah.
The dark hole, and then she ended up, you know, creating chaos and like chasing America throughout different universes and like creating chaos for not only herself but also for everyone around her as well.
Okay, and in real life, is that what people do when they're in like go through traumatic?
Yeah, think about it. When you can't accept reality for what it is, like when you just can't accept that things are the way they are right now and you think that they should be a certain way, you end up creating suffering for yourself, like because then you're obsessed with an alternate reality which is not what it is.
Okay.
And then you end up like, you know, getting angry and upset and then kind of like throwing it out there and showing the anger towards other people as well.
Okay. And when you say reality for what you want it to be, does that also relate to like Instagram people and whatnot? Like Instagram, you put on like all this happy face, but behind the camera there's deep shit going on.
Yeah.
So it's a different reality. You know what? That kind of reminds me of Moon Knight. You know, like on Instagram, everyone's happy, this flashing this and that and whatnot. That's one personality. That's Steven. And then behind the camera, when you're not recording, life is different, and that's Mark. Anyway, we're not talking about Moon Knight, but that's an interesting point though. When we do life lessons with Moon Knight, we should definitely talk that out. All right, well that's cool. All right, so the second point you had here was, it's not about how much power you hold, but what you choose to do with your power that either makes or breaks you. When you use your powers for good of others, you are also helping yourself. But when you use your powers to bring harm to others, you are directly creating harm for yourself too. So that's interesting. So you're saying, obviously the Spider-Man quote, right? With great powers come great responsibility. But what you're saying here is when you're using it for powers for good, you're helping yourself. And when you're using powers to harm others, you are directly creating harm for yourself.
Yeah.
So what's that mean?
Well, I mean, all of us, we live in an interconnected world and we are all interdependent. So the fact that even Wanda, when she started using her powers and trying to hurt other people in the process, she was really just hurting herself as well. Like, because she was hurting, she ended up hurting other people. And as a result, she could have caused incursions, right? She could have caused the destruction of multiple universes, and eventually that's going to come back and bite her as well. Like, so you kind of know that whenever you are out there using your powers to hurt other people, you're actually indirectly hurting yourself, or sometimes it's even direct.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. The third point. So every version of Doctor Strange in the different universes was unique, right? They had similar experiences and similar love interests, and yet each one made different choices that eventually shaped their lives. In other words, you have the power to decide the type of person you want to be, and know that there is going to be no one else like you in the universe, or even an alternate universe. What's that mean? What do you mean in that?
Well, so Doctor Strange, he had like there were so many different versions of him, and they had similar life experiences because they were talking about his sister and how like in different universes they also had the same experience of losing his sister as well. But in each one, because of the choices that he made through his life, like they each ended up slightly different. Like their life ended up looking different, but it also shows that you as a individual you are unique. Like there's going to be no one else like you, and so that is basically like your superpower, right? The fact that no one else is going to be like you, and so you have to be. So you get to decide the type of person that you want to become. You don't have to like what your life experiences decide that.
Okay. Cool. Point 4. So learn to trust in your power, aka believe in yourself. That's what changes lives. That's what changes lives. Your life and that of others. So if Chavez hadn't believed in herself and caused her powers to show the consequences of Wanda's actions on her kids, Wanda might have gone to destroy many lives in the universe. So that's obviously at the end of the movie when she believed in herself. Rather than fighting Wanda, she showed her the reality of what she's looking for. So
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, I think I told you this. Like, this was one of the most impactful scenes for me because when Doctor Strange actually told America to actually trust in her powers instead of trying to take the powers from her, he told her trust in your powers, and because of that, when she finally believed in herself and believed that she could control her powers, she was actually able to do it. It's just that she never actually thought, or she never believed in herself, and that's why she all along thought that, oh, I don't have control over my powers, I don't know what to do with it, I don't know how it works. But when she actually believed that she could do it and trusted in her own powers, she was able to use that to fight back against Wanda. But at the same time, she had her own way of fighting back, right? She wasn't like trying to use power against power, but she saw the emotional side of it. She was able to relate to what Wanda truly wanted, like where her values lied. So that's why she took a different route and actually just gave her what she wanted, which was the reality of her sons. And that's what showed Wanda that, okay, actually she's creating harm and she's actually not going to be happy by being with her kids because the kids are afraid of her right now. Yeah.
And also, with Chavez believing in herself, as you said, she like not only she believed in her power and was able to fight, but she was able to figure out the idea of showing Wanda what your life's gonna be look like. So that's a power in itself because she has all that power, right? She has a superhuman strength. She can freaking go into different multiverses and whatnot. Instead, she chose smartly rather than fight with Wanda.
Yeah.
It's like an intelligent thing, but she didn't believe in all of that.
Well, I would call it like her emotional intelligence because she was really using her empathy to recognize that, okay, Wanda is suffering because she wants to be with her boys, but she can't, and that's why she's trying to get her powers. So she's trying to show her that, is that really true? Like, are you really going to be happy with your boys knowing that you caused so much of destruction and you killed so many lives just to get to them or just to be with them?
Yeah, and you know what, that relates in real life as well, because a lot of people want shit, be it like big houses, money, or the girl that they, or whatever it is, or the guy, or whatever. But really, sometimes what you really want might not make you happy.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that goes back to another point there, but for this point, I guess the main thing is that all of us also have our own unique superpowers that, yeah, maybe things that we don't really recognize or things that we take for granted, right? Or we don't see it as superpowers because it comes so naturally to us, but we each of us like have our own unique abilities and we need to trust and believe in ourselves. Like, that's kind of what I took away from that because I was just thinking like, what if each of us really believed in ourselves and believed in the good that we could do for the world? Like, how much change could we actually create in this world?
Yeah, oh, that's deep. Okay, cool. Point number 5, be grateful for the life you have now, even in the tribulations. Quote from Wong, because he said that in the movie, because Strange asked him, are you happy? And that's a question that no one's ever asked him. Okay, cool. In today's world, we are always seeking for something better, a greener pasture. What?
Yeah, greener pasture.
A greener pasture, but as long as long as you keep going in search of a better life without fully appreciating the life you already live in, you're always going to feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied. So yeah, this was an interesting question, and you don't even hear it in most of these. I mean, again, they're fake movies, but just in general, people don't ask each other, "Are you happy?" Right? It's a simple question, but in life, when, like, I know that if you get a promotion or you get this, you get that, oh, it's amazing, congratulations, da, da, da. But how rare is it that someone just says, "But hold on, are you happy?" Right? So yeah, go on. Want to elaborate on that?
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking about the point you made earlier about, you think that you want a lot of like different accomplishments or different things in your life, but then maybe once you reach them, you're like, oh, but this doesn't feel as fulfilling, or this doesn't actually make me feel as happy as I thought I would be. And so that's when you start questioning about like what truly brings happiness, right? And I think that's the biggest question that all of us have on our minds. So I think Wong's quote was like kind of like right on point. It's like, just if we can really be grateful for what we already have instead of always trying to chase for more or trying to have something other than what you already have, then that's where your happiness lies, because technically happiness is an emotion, it's a state of being, and you don't really need anything to have that happiness. You can actually access it right here within, like right in this moment itself, when you recognize all the things that you already have in your life.
Yeah, and you know what? But it's a lot of people, maybe including myself, I don't know, in certain aspects, like, I can't say not truly happy, but always chasing things, but not knowing if that thing's going to bring you happiness. Because really, you should be chasing things for happiness. Yes, okay, some things you've got to do for survival, right? Job, house, roof over your family's head, food, all that sort of stuff. But happiness is an interesting one, especially in this superhero world where freaking Doctor Strange and them lot save the universe and blah 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 blah. And then when it comes down to it, they're not really happy. He didn't end up with the love of his life. And you saw in other multiple universes, he couldn't end up with the love of his life and ended up becoming bad and blah blah blah. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Doesn't matter how powerful or whatever you have, if you don't have happiness, or if you don't know how to chase happiness, or what you said, accept. Was it trials? Even with the trials and tribulations, accept what you have. You can never be happy. Okay, alright. Number 6 was, all the power in the world can't bring you happiness. Well, I think this relates to the question, the one we just had.
Yeah.
All the power in the world can't bring you happiness if you don't love and connect in your life. We all need love and connection in our lives, whether you're a superhero or not. So I think you kind of just spoke on that, innit?
Yeah.
Right, that's true. And then the last point that we had was, or you had was, remember to check in. I think this is an interesting point, right? Because obviously,
This came from you actually.
Yeah, because this, we spoke about in the spoiler and whatnot, but in a real life situation, remember to check in and support your family and friends, especially the ones who seem to be tough or powerful or doing okay. You never know what demons they might be fighting with under the surface. So this obviously came from when I talked to you about it, spoke to Kibbs about it on the spoiler review. I was like, there's someone like Sam Wilson, who's the new Captain America, take responsibility now, because Wanda was suffering and everyone left her to it, right? She was a kid. I remember in Civil War, Captain America, Steve said to Tony Stark, she's just a kid. Like, he got really emotional because she's young and whatnot. And so she's gone through so much traumatic stuff and nobody has looked after her. And then she became a villain. She became a super villain in this. Obviously, there was some sort of redemption or whatnot, and said she'd done the right thing. But end of the day, she was the villain of this movie. But this is not a multiversal Wanda. This was our Wanda, the Wanda that we grew up with in the whole MCU and whatnot. And one of the things I was saying is that no one checks up on her. So yeah, now why don't you elaborate on what you on that point?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's nothing much to elaborate really. It's just about checking in with your family and friends, even the ones that you think are doing really well. Like, it doesn't really hurt just to kind of give a call, see how they're doing. Because you never know what, like, everyone is kind of dealing with something, right, under the surface. Like, they might not just be showing it, maybe like because we have this culture where you just put on a brave face and just go out there and seem good. So it's hard to show your vulnerabilities, show that you are struggling with something. So sometimes you really need to like pause and check in with the people around you as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said the most powerful, strongest people as well, because Wanda is the most powerful
Yeah.
superhero that we got in the MCU, and she has the ability to change her reality, but it doesn't mean that she's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you still got to check up on her. So it's definitely something in the real world, checking up on people, making sure everyone's doing okay, especially if you know someone's gone through a traumatic situation or whatnot, and they feel like they're alright. It's always best to check up on people and have that connection. All right, cool. Well, look, those were some good points. You know, I feel like we should do this for, you know, the movies that we watch, superhero movies. I think there's a lot to take from it. And I think I obviously dragged you into this world, and you're seeing it from a different perspective. But it's great to see it from that perspective, and people can, like, you know, I don't know, movies are influential, and if you can learn something from it, then, or, you know, whatever it be, you know, it's great to. I don't know, I'm talking cheese right now. All right. Anyway, cool. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And until the next life lesson session, catch you on the rebound. Peace.